Go.
All right. So, hello everyone. Yeah, I'm Claire, and we are here to present "Prepare for the Med School: A High School Guide" webinar to you today. So, let me introduce myself. Chris, if you can move to the next slide. I'm Claire, and I'm the founder of Borrow School. So Borrow School is a premier online tutoring and edutech company that offer tutoring and college prep from experienced certified classroom teachers and also experts. So today, our guest speaker is Chris. So Chris is Borrow School science educator. He is currently a medical student, and he is also a lead counselor for the pre-med path that we are going to talk about today. So I assume people here today are interested in a medical career. That's why you come to our webinar, right? I just want to talk about the medical career and what this is about, and especially why people are interested and why this is a great career. First, let's look at the earning. So this is a report from Medscape published in actually this year. The average earning for a US doctor is mid 300K US dollars. And for specialists, their compensation can go up to almost 400K on average a year. And if you look at some subspecialties like plastics, or orthopedics, that can really get to close to 600K US dollars a year. So the earning is really good for this career. But there are some other factors maybe are more important when people think about becoming a doctor. Next slide, please. So why medical doctors? This is what we hear from our family members and our friends, the doctor friends. Because I'm from family of physicians. My father is a doctor, and my husband is also a physician. We hear that they have a desire to help others. They want to help the sufferings. They want to improve people's health. That's their genuine interest to help others. And also, being a doctor is constantly having intellectual challenges because they needed to make good judgment on a lot of emergencies or things that they need to make quick and good judgment, and that is never boring. And also job security and stability. So we have some professions, say high tech. It's high or low, depends on the economy. But for doctor, it's always stable because we get sick, we need doctors, and the baby boomers need a lot more doctors, right? And also respect and prestigious. This is an important part of being doctor because due to the nature of the doctor, we get a lot of respect from the society. And sorry. Finally, I think this is probably the most important drive of being a doctor. At least this is from my family. Why my father and my husband, they want to become a doctor because of a calling and also the passion. My husband often come home and tells me, I love my job. He is very busy. He gets home, spend little time, but he just keeps saying, I love my job. I want to work even after 65. So I think with this passion, you can make commitment and keep going, because Chris probably will tell you what, what's a path like to become doctor. It needs a lot of commitment. All right. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Chris. He is a medical student and he just gone through a lot of these, and he's going to share his insights here.
Thank you, Claire. So hello, everyone. Nice to meet you officially. I'm Chris. I work as a science instructor with Bolo School, and I teach a lot of different subjects from biology to chemistry to anatomy, things like that. And I'll kind of step you through tonight everything that we want to know about getting into medical school, what to expect, and how we can help. So our overview tonight, we're going to look at our path toward medical school. We want to start thinking about in high school, making those good decisions that are going to set us up for success, getting into colleges that we want to get into, and then into medical school. We want to look at our high school success plan, our admissions for college, our planning, all of the prerequisite classes we want to take in college, but we also want to kind of prepare ourselves in high school. After medical school, we want to know what the path is going to be because medical school is just one short period of time of your life. We want to think about the entire career, the years of training afterwards, and then finally the years of working as an attending physician. We want to think about other careers that could use your MD. So you can become a medical doctor and you don't necessarily have to work as a medical doctor. You can do education, research, and we're going to talk about it. And then finally, if there's time, we can talk about scholarship opportunities, and then how we can help. All right, so our path toward medical school, we want to keep in mind our timeline. We always want to think, how long is something going to take? So becoming a doctor is a big commitment, as Claire mentioned, because it's going to take a lot of time for us to get set up in each part of the path to how much time we're going to commit. So high school, we're going to do a 4-year diploma. Everybody knows that. You go from freshman to senior year. During our time in high school, we want to be taking all those hard science classes. We want to be taking APs. When we get to college, that's going to be another 4 years. Now, if you're doing work in high school, like taking college courses or APs, you can shorten the time in college if you want, but most students average about 4 years. Medicine is going to be 4 years. There's no debating that. Every United States medical school is a 4-year school. It's designed that way on purpose. 2 years of your medical training are going to be just book learning. We call those the didactic years. So in medical school, you're going to have 2 years devoted to just learning sciences. At that period of time, you're going to be preparing for your United States medical licensing exam, the USMLE, which is a big exam that everybody has to take. Along with that, you'll be gaining clinical experience and joining clubs and having fun with other students. Now, after the next 2 years, you're in the hospitals, basically working side by side with doctors, and we call those your clinical years. During your clinical years, you're going to be rotating through different subset specialties in medicine. So you'll do a subset specialty in family medicine. You might do emergency medicine as elective. Everybody takes general classes like OBGYN, internal medicine, and you'll step your way through learning about all the different avenues of medicine. Finally, in your 4th year of medical school, you get to pick electives. So if you like emergency medicine or orthopedics, if you want to become a radiologist, you can pick specific specialties that you can focus on along the way. And that's something that we can even advise on current medical students. How do you pick electives? A lot of the time, doing these things takes a lot of phone calls. It takes a lot of networking with hospitals, meeting the right administrators, and setting up these electives for yourself or having someone else do it for you. Next, we want to think about the timeline after medical school. So you do your 4 years of medical school, you get all the training, all the book knowledge, then you have to pick your residency. Your residency is going to set you up for success in your future career. Your residency is going to be your subspecialty. You can do family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, OBGYN, orthopedics. And we just want to remember that the residency you get into, it has other medical students competing. So there's going to be a competition to get the residency that you want. You might apply to 100 different residencies all across the country, all across the world to get into the hospital you want. It's very competitive. Some specialties are more competitive than others. A lot of people want to become orthopedic surgeons or radiologists. So there's going to be a lot more competition, which means you need to prepare and have things in line during medical school so that you're a very competent applicant. They want you in their program because you've shown an interest, you have what it takes, you understand the career you're stepping into. And then finally, we want to think about fellowships and actually working as an attending. So fellowships are specialized training. If you did internal medicine, you could do a fellowship in gastroenterology, where you'll learn all about the GI tract in a human, the digestive system. And the fellowship is important because that can help you have a higher income later on, help you specialize to see a certain kind of patient you want to work with, and help you really refine your skills as a physician. And then finally, after that entire process, our residency being 3 to 7 years, depending on the specialty, our fellowship averaging about 2, you're now a board certified attending physician, and you can work in your trained field for the rest of your life. The amazing thing about medicine is that once you are certified, you never really have to find a job. You are the job. You've learned the skill. You have the talent. And that's something that you're just not going to find in other careers. Medicine is amazing because once you get to that point, you start training other doctors. You start really specializing and maybe doing specific research, and you're the doctor who's driving this next level of research in your field. And the more specialized you become, the more unique you become in the medical field, the rarer you become, because there's just not that many people that will go through this process. But just alone, I want you to think about, take a look at this and say, wow, that is a big commitment. That's 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, 3 to 7 years of residency, and then finally a fellowship. This is a huge lifelong commitment. You're in this for the long run. I had to make that commitment at some point when I said, okay, I'm becoming a doctor. I have to buckle down and get all the prerequisites done. I have to do it. And, I've gotten to this point because I made that decision and put all the things in play. And what we want to talk about is how we can help get you through that process, but also just so that you understand what that process is really going to look like. All right, so high school success. High school is really actually very important when we think about trying to get to medical school, because the habits you develop now are going to help you become a better college student and a better doctor. The organizations you get involved in will help you. So let's take a look. Should you take specific classes while you're in high school? The answer is absolutely. You want to be taking the hard upper level science courses. If your schools offer AP, you want to be taking AP biology, chemistry, calculus, economics, government. Those are good too. It shows that you understand a lot of different concepts. It's only going to make you better. But at the end of the day, remember that if you score a high enough point on an AP exam, you can use that as direct college credit. And so you can transfer credits directly to your college, which will save you extra time that you can now spend taking harder science classes. So we want to say, should you take specific classes? Yes. You want to develop the scientific mind while you're in high school. You want to be taking those classes, and you can cover a lot of ground while you're in high school. Can you get college credit while you're in high school? Yes. So a lot of American high schools have these joint programs where you can go to community colleges and take college level classes. I've met high schoolers who are sophomores that I've worked with teaching AP. Actually, this past year, good example, brilliant girl taking an AP chemistry prep course with me. And I told her, as soon as you can, you need to be taking college level chemistry, because the skills you have right now are outstanding and you could be pushing yourself and taking college. Like, she's a sophomore in high school, but she has the capacity to do college. As soon as she can, she should do it. We want to take classes as soon as possible. Like I said, community college, dual credit courses. A lot of high schools have this, and we just want to make sure that if you're in a high school, we find those resources. We also want to think about our extracurriculars we can participate in. We have things like HOSA and Science Olympiad. These are specialized pre-medical organizations and science competition organizations that you can join. We have a different list that we could talk about at some point in another conversation, or we say, okay, these are the organizations that'll help. At the end of the day, it's a fun way to get experience, to show colleges that you're interested in medicine, that you're interested in science, and that'll help you get into the major that you want. If you pair all of that, those extracurriculars with all of the rigorous science you're taking and some college courses, you're going to get into a very good college. And finally, we want to say, we want to find something really passionate that you care about, something that challenges you and gives back to your community. So if you like volunteer work, you could go to a local food shelter and volunteer every week. If you like to do research, you could try to join an organization that teaches high schoolers research. Whatever it is, when you apply to college, because we're at the high school to college level now, we want to think, what story are we telling? What conversation can we have with the admissions committee, or can we write in our personal statement? And so we want to have things that we're passionate about, that we care about. It doesn't have to be related to medicine, but it has to show a general caring for people, for your community, because at the end of the day, doctors are people that use science and technology to care for their community. And that's what you do every single day. And we want to start to show that now. You could do something like becoming an EMT or volunteer in like a local fire company. There's a lot of different things, a lot of fun things, unique things you can do. The sky's the limit. The key I'm going to say is be consistent. Find something you care about, do it once a week. Have that consistency. Show commitment now to something, and they'll see that in the future. All right, so medical school, we want to think like an admissions officer. So we got through, or we're in college now, and we want to do something called back planning. Back planning is this concept where we think about, we're handing our application to an admissions officer. They're sitting at their desk and they're looking down at all the things you did during your college years. And we want to present that. And so if we know what we want to achieve by the time we're handing our application, you don't actually hand it, you send it in, but you know what I mean. When you're handing in your application to the admissions person, what is it going to say? And so we have to do certain things. Everybody has to cover these. You need to have a good GPA. You want to have a general science, a general GPA, all of the college classes you've taken, and you also want to have a science GPA. Ideally, for an American medical school, you need to have your GPA as high as possible. We're talking like 3.75, 3.8, 3.9, 4.0. You want to have A's. You want to have A's in the hard classes. A's in biology, physics, chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry. All of those are added together in your science GPA, and that's weighed heavier on your application. But your general GPA, all the humanities classes you'll take, all the AP classes you took in high school, all of that is going to be added in as well. So your GPA matters. You need to have a high GPA. Medical schools have a cutoff. If you don't hit a certain GPA, you get your application put into the no admissions pile because you just didn't hit that benchmark. Next, we have our MCAT. So you have to do well in the MCAT. The MCAT is our medical college admissions test. It's a comprehensive exam that covers biology, physics, psychology, reading comprehension. I teach MCAT courses now. It's a very difficult test. It takes months of dedication and practice alone. So you are taking this exam. It is not like any exam you've ever taken. You have to pull out information that you've learned from months of book study, from difficult questions and convoluted research paragraphs, and answer the questions. It's a timed exam and it's very competitive. There's scores that you need to hit. For most American schools, you want to hit about a 510 on the exam, a 510. 510 to 515 guarantees you a conversation with a lot of really good schools. Below that, 507, you might be able to get into at a 500, maybe not. Now, we want to remember that there's different kinds of medical schools, both in the United States. In the United States, we have MD, medical doctor, and DO, doctor of osteopathic medicine. Both of them can practice medicine. Both of them are licensed physicians. There's just a different philosophy between the two. Most doctor of osteopathic schools, DO schools, will accept students with slightly less, uh, I guess, academic rigor. So maybe their GPAs are a little bit lower and their MCAT is a little bit lower. But let me tell you, they're still incredibly competitive. There might be 5,000 students that apply and only two, or maybe let's say 100 get selected. So it's very, very competitive and it's only getting more competitive. Nowadays, the MD and the DO schools combined, and it's all really the same thing. There are international schools all over the world that you can transfer and become an American doctor if you go to. They usually accept lower MCAT. But all I'm saying is that you need to have a very high MCAT score to be considered for some of the best colleges, medical colleges. And finally, we want to think about our extracurriculars. It's just like what I was talking about in high school. In high school, we had the idea that you were going to stick with a few things that showed an appreciation for your community, that showed a dedication to science, whatever you want. The same idea is going to be applied here to college. You want to find an organization that helps you network. We want to have something that you do that is related to medicine. You need to be shadowing doctors. You have to shadow doctors. You have to be working with doctors in some way. You can become a medical scribe. You could work on an online for a doctor online. You can work in a hospital as a volunteer. There's things that you can do. You also have to do research while you're in high school or while you're in college. So a lot of colleges have research groups. You need to have research experience. Most medical schools require it. Finally, we want to say, think about building a stool with 3 legs. For you to get accepted, when you hand in that application to the admissions officer, you want to have all of these legs put together so that you have a real product, the stool. So you have something to sit on and say, hey, this is me. You want to have your GPA. That's years of dedication in college, a lot of studying. You've proven that you can do the academic work required in medicine. Then we want to have our MCAT. A very high MCAT score shows that you'll be able to pass the licensing exams, that you can handle the stress, that you can sit for 7 hours and take an exam. And then finally, you want to have the extracurricular experience that shows a dedication to your community, that shows that you went out and met doctors, that you understand the field you're getting into, and that shows that you have research experience, which you'll need in medical school. So all of those together, you hand that to the admissions officer and they say, wow, you did a great job. You're a great student. We really think that you'll fit in within our school. And that's how you get accepted. So college planning, what majors should students consider in college? Well, first of all, does the college you attend matter? The answer is yes and no. It does matter to some extent, depending on what you want to do, what field you want to go into. When it comes to medical school, most medical schools aren't going to care where you went to college. They're going to care about whether or not your college is accredited, if it's known to have, academically rigorous courses. But at the end of the day, it's all very standardized. Colleges have to teach a certain level of biology. There's levels, there's difficulties. There's certain levels of physics. If you get an A at any college and you can do the work and you can do that, colleges like medical schools will see that and say, okay, that is the same. But now remember, if you go to Harvard and you get 4.0 across the board on every exam, that's quite impressive. That might help you. So the answer is yes and no. I think what really matters is showing a reason why you chose your college. You liked the culture, you liked the location. At the end of the day, remember, it's very standardized. Are some colleges better at getting students accepted into medical school? Yes and no. Some colleges have very clear-cut pre-medical programs. My college, Temple University, here in my hometown, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, they had a whole department dedicated to getting students into medical school, if that's what you wanted to do. And you started to build an application while you were in college to make that happen for yourself. So a lot of colleges have this. Some big colleges are better at doing it than others. That's just how it is. They have more funding, they have more opportunities, they have more research. So yes, when you're applying to college, look at colleges that have a dedicated pre-med or pre-health department. We can talk about that. We would help you. And also just think about like what the opportunities for research might be or the area. Here in Philadelphia, we have the most hospitals out of like almost any city within a very small distance. So tons of research opportunities, tons of shadowing opportunities, very easy to find opportunities in a city like this. So going to a college in a town where there's a lot of hospitals and a big medical culture is an important choice. And finally, it's the student and not the school. If you have the willpower, you have the discipline to take the classes, to find everything you need, you will show that in your admissions, and they're trained to find those students. They understand. So it's about you. It's about the person you become during college, the skills you develop. So it's about you. It's not about the school. If you, whatever school you get into, you can use that to get yourself where you want to be. So, you know, it's about what you bring to the table. Our pre-medical prerequisites, every medical school requires the same classes, standardized. Every pre-medical student has to take biology 1 and 2, physics 1 and 2. Now, the physics can be algebra or calculus based, but we're going to recommend calculus. You've taken calculus in high school if you took the APs. Maybe you took AP physics. You'll be fine in physics 1 and 2. Organic chemistry 1 and 2. So you need 2 semesters of that. Pre-calc or calculus is usually required. Most American MD schools require calculus. They also recommend that you take optional classes like immunology, biochemistry, and virology. So I never really answered the question, does it matter what major you pick in college? The answer is no, because you can always take these classes as your elective. However, if you do something like biology or chemistry, or let's say like a pre-med degree, pre-health, I did pre-health kinesiology, which is like the study of human body movement. I took all these hard classes along with it, and I had a good application. You need to take these because you'll learn a lot. I went into medical school. I also did a master's in biomedical sciences, so I had a graduate degree. When I walked into medical school, I already knew what I was doing. I had already trained and I already learned a lot of science. None of this was new to me. But if you only took biology, chemistry, physics 1 and 2, organic chemistry, you're going to have a very big learning curve when it comes to actually learning medicine. So what I'm going to say is, like, there's no time to waste. Start taking these classes in college, pick out all the cool classes that you're going to use in medical school, and build your knowledge base now, build your understanding of medicine and the human body now while you're in college. And then when you get to medical school, it'll make it a lot easier for you to understand what's going on. The other students will look up to you. They'll ask you questions because you'll know a lot of information. All right, the path after med school. I talked about this a little bit, but just remember that you're going to have residency options. Medical school is just a time to get training, to learn medicine, to get out into the world and practice. But ultimately, you're putting together an application to go to a residency. So in medical school, you want to have research experience, you want to have work experience, you want to have patient contact experience, like going to events and helping patients. And you pull all that together into an application that you send to hospitals to get residencies. Remember, residencies are created in American hospitals. So the hospital will hire you as a resident. They'll pay you a salary. You usually make about 60,000 or to 70,000 a year as a resident. And then you're working for the hospital, training to become a doctor. You're committing 3 to 5 years of training with them. Now, remember that if you're trying to go to surgery, radiology, really difficult residencies, you need to have a very competitive medical school application. So you need to be doing a lot. You have to have a lot of research if you want to go into surgery. They like seeing research. You need to have a lot of patient contact experience if you want to go into something like family medicine. But remember that not all residencies are as competitive. And generally, if there's something you really want to do, there's always a way to do it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't. If you want to become an orthopedic surgeon, you can. If you want to become an emergency medicine doc, you can. Whatever you're interested in. This is about you. You're going to be doing the residency job for the rest of your life. So you need to find something that you really enjoy. And that's why doing the electives, your 4th year of medical school, is very, very important. Finally, you want to ask yourself, what does it mean to be a physician today? Being a physician means you make a lot of sacrifices. To become a doctor, you made a lot of sacrifices already. You went to college. You chose to spend money to go to college. You chose to sit in a library and study. You chose to do the, you know, all the training and to go to medical school. Remember, medical school is expensive. Most medical students come out with some student debt. So remember that being a doctor is somebody that commits, somebody that has a passion for helping people, and that's in it for a life. It's a lifetime job. But the fun, really cool thing that Claire mentioned, like her husband loves going to work, it's what he does. I feel the same way when I train in medicine, when I do medical anything. It's a skill, it's what you do. It feels like amazing going through all this the science and then the training and then actually being out in the real world helping people. And it's a great career. And people will come up to you and thank you and they want to talk to you. And that's what it means to be a physician is you're someone with the knowledge, with the ability to help others. And they people come up to you and they ask you for help. And I can tell you when you walk into the room wearing scrubs or wearing your white coat and you introduce yourself to a patient and you say, "Hey, I'm here to help you," there's a feeling that you get because you've done all that work, you've been through all the stuff, and now you're here that no other job's really going to give you. So, no, like being a physician is really an important job. People will look up to you, they're going to ask you that. And just remember that you're doing all the work, all the planning now, so that one day you can have that experience, you can have the great job and all the benefits that go with it, but you can also really have a positive impact in people's lives. All right, what are some jobs after medical school? So not everybody wants to work with people. Some people don't like working with people. You know, everybody's different. Remember that once you have a medical degree, what's great is you can have other jobs. You're very qualified. You're the most qualified education, you know, has to offer, really. You can go into medical research. You can become a medical research for a medical hospital. You can go into the pharmaceutical industry where you make drugs or help with drugs. You can go into teaching or you can go into academic research, whatever you want to do. There's a lot of careers that you can go into outside of working with patients or working for a hospital that will use your degree. The great thing is no one can ever take your degree from you. Once you have it, you're always a doctor, and a lot of companies will ask you to work for them because of what you can do. Are there scholarships? And if so, how would you qualify? Yes, there's a lot of different scholarships. I'm in the National Guard, and so in the American military, they helped pay for a lot of my education. So I got a scholarship where they helped pay for my apartment, and then they also helped pay for my tuition at the same time. There's a lot of those military scholarships, but realize like being in the military is another big commitment. Not everybody wants to be in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. So that's something that you have to decide that you might want to do. Other scholarships, there's the Veterans Administration, Veterans Association here in America. They offer a scholarship. Hospitals will do what's called loan repayment. So if you commit to working for a hospital, they'll help pay for all the medical school loans you took out. That's another option right there. And finally, there's a lot of scholarships available through the government to help students. So it might be students who have come from first generation doctors, there's scholarships there. Medical schools will offer academic scholarships. If you have a certain GPA, you might get all your tuition paid for by the medical school because they know how good of a student you are. So the better you do in college, the more opportunities for scholarships you're going to see. Remember, there's academic scholarships, full academics. If you have 4.0 and 520 MCAT and great extracurriculars, you might get a full ride to a medical school. It's not unheard of. Okay, so I think that's it. I'll be here to answer any questions, but I think Claire is coming back.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So now you hear all the things that Chris just shared. You probably say, "Wow, that's you know, it's a lot. It sounds overwhelming and it sounds difficult." Yes, go to a medical school and become a doctor is hard and complicated, but we can help. So we have pre-med college counseling package that we help the high school students, like what class to choose, and also what kind of research or extracurricular will look good if you want to, go to the pre-med path. And we also have the college essay coaching. We have a professor from UC Berkeley. He is great with essay coaching, and he is very reasonable priced. And if you just need that piece, we can offer that help too. And if you want to have the science tutoring, like the physics, chemistry, or biology, these are the foundational classes for pre-med. We have that as well. Like Chris is, as I said, he is helping with some science tutoring at Boros School. And finally, the SAT test prep, we have excellent mentors or tutors as well. But I want to especially talk about the professional network building that we offer, because medical is a community. If you get into the medical school, ultimately you want to look at the residency, you want to get matched because you want to go to the specialty or family doctor or whatever you choose. And that each specialty, they have a small community. And if you can get the recommendation or work with a doctor in that community, your chance of getting matched is much, much higher. So just a couple of days ago, my husband went to American Orthopedic Association conference. And at that conference, those are the doctors, they deal with, the admission decisions for medical school for residency. And they are just sharing that with, you probably heard of some just recently they remove the step 1 to fail and pass instead of the scores. And that is harder for the residency program to differentiate the good applicant. And what they do now is they really look at the letter of recommendation. They will call the person who made the recommendation, say, hey, do you really know this student? How long have you worked? What's his style? And for that doctor, if the admission officers or the people who make decision already know from the professional network, they will trust what that person says. So we have a network that can provide this to you as well. All right. Yeah, if you want to book a 30-minute free counseling, this is a link. You can scan the QR code and you can talk to us, and we can we can talk about what we can help to become a doctor. All right, next one. Yeah, so these are some more details, what we can offer for the pre-med path. That's what I talked about. But we have a full team devoted to help you to develop the professional relationship in medicine and in scientific research. Next one. So this is the team I just talked about. We have medical students, we have researchers, we also have practicing doctors that they are all in this medical community that we can offer our expertise to really help you prepare well for this journey. Next one. So the last one I want to share is a testimonial from our graduates just this year. So a couple months ago, we just got the students, they sent us text. One student matched to University of Chicago, and another student matched to Harvard Medical Residency Program. Yeah, we actually had 3 students. So another one didn't get matched to his first choice. So he could go to another program, but he decided to take a gap year and do more research and prepare for the next year. So these are just something we want to share, that we have a team here to help you. So with that, I'm going to open for question and answer. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions for Chris. You can also type in the chat.
Hey, can I ask a question, Claire?
Sure, go ahead.
So what's it gonna be like for international students to apply for a college? I would say maybe college first and then go with a medical school track. So how's that different for being an international student versus American students?
Okay, so yeah, for international students and American students, first you're talking about the college. I think it's a similar process. You probably for the international students, you want to have a little bit more like TOEFL or those things to assess your language. But yeah, they are looking at similar qualification, like your GPA from your high school, the extracurricular, and also the like the any thing that's related, like especially on the science class you take the AP classes. So that's all pretty much similar. But for medical school, if you are in the US colleges, when you apply for the medical school, the process is also similar. But I think, Chris, you can correct me. It will be a little bit different when you are matching for the residency. And that's the hard part. And that we need to be more strategic because for residency, anyone has a medical like diploma degree or qualification can can try to match, but it's very competitive, and they want to look at the students from the American college first, because they just give the preference to those students. And I believe if you don't have the U.S. citizenship or green card, you also need to find the H-1 visa sponsor. So that also adds some complex, to be a little bit more complicated. But yeah, Chris, do you want to add or correct?
I think you covered it really well, Claire. I think the only difference is are we talking about an international medical school? If you do an international medical school, what you'll have to do is come to America and do your USMLE 1, 2, and 3 before you can practice. I will tell you, it's a lot more difficult to get a residency. When you do that, you usually have to wait a few cycles to get into the hospital that you want, and it's going to be much more difficult. If you're coming from an international college, there is international applications, but at the end of the day, you have to fill on American applications for medical school, like the required classes. And what they do is they take those, if it's accredited colleges, and that's why I said the college has to be accredited. If it's an accredited international school, the admissions counselors may be able to use that and find the equivalent. But I'll tell you, you want to go, if you can, to an American college because it's also streamlined to go from American college to American medical school because there's connections between the two, and we know that they have the certain credentials. We sometimes American medical schools aren't going to know if an international college was as rigorous as an American college, depending on the class. And that's the only thing you want to consider is whether or not they would be able to say, yes, those are all the same, or no, you have to take more classes in America, which is what they would probably say you have to do.
Thank you, Chris. So you're saying for international students who will be getting a degree from USA colleges, when they apply for medical schools, along with American college students, graduates, there's no significant differences, right? It's a matter of taking in and
Yep.
in other. Okay,
Yeah,
so they're eligible. They don't need to have American citizenship to get into medical school.
No, exactly. So they don't, and they look to have some international students for sure. You know, the schools like to have a diversity of students, a lot of students from a lot of different backgrounds. And what'll help is that if you do get into American medical school, they can extend your visa for a longer time. If you are starting a business in America, they can extend your visa if you invest enough. They'll do the same because becoming a doctor is like starting a business. So they will work with you to make sure that you have more time in America to study.
Okay. So I heard going into medical school is very similar path, but as Claire said, the matching with residency will be much more competitive.
Only if you go to an international medical school. If you go to a United States medical school, it's still competitive, but you're in a good place. You'll get
Right.
the residency. An MD medical school, you will get the job you want.
Okay. Okay. So let me just summarize what I heard. An international school, such as a Chinese student who chose to go to US for college, and the medical school and stay for residency. In terms of this track, the eligibility and everything else is very much similar with American citizens. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, that's very good to hear. I'm asking for one of my friends actually. Um, so that's very good to hear. And then what do you think, Chris, in terms of getting scholarship for medical school for international student? I think I heard that you mentioned this a little bit, right?
There are some. Now, remember, it's competitive, right? For an international student, it depends how well you do academically. If you have a very, very high MCAT and a very high GPA, there are always going to be scholarships. You have to find them. There might be other private programs that have like a heritage program where they help students coming from China to get scholarships. There's usually those that exist, and we can help you find that. There are a lot, but you have to look around and also know that like medical schools do offer a lot of scholarships that can help you. And then like when you're working, there's loan repayment. So the student loans, like when you're in America, you can take out American federal student loans, and then they'll pay for your living expenses, they'll pay for everything. You will temporarily go into debt, but there's ways to pay them back, and it's not that big of a deal because once you're a doctor, you pay them back very quickly within a few years of practicing. So there's ways to do it correctly.
Thank you, Chris. So getting a loan doesn't need American citizenship.
Do you need American citizenship? No, you can get loans, I believe, without it, but you have to go through a certain system. So you have to have it. I will do some research about what it would take, but you can get private loans or government loans, I believe, without a citizenship. But that is something that you should consider, that there are going to be more barriers to get those in line.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That's very good information. I have another question. So I heard that quite a few medical schools or colleges offer BS plus MD, about 7 years program. What do we know about this? But I also heard from some friends that these programs are phasing out, either now or in future. So can you talk about these things a little bit?
But you're saying that there's like programs that link medical college right into medical school? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, BSMD, so it's like 7 year or 8 year. Not a
Yeah.
whole lot,
Yeah.
but they do offer this kind of program. Yeah.
At the end of the day, what they're looking for, they exist. There's a lot of them still. I know a few in New York City. There's a few in California. Off the top of my head, I can think of those programs. You still have to maintain a certain GPA and you still have to get a certain MCAT score. But like the idea is that you come in, you have all the academics from high school, you come in strong, you get a GPA within your first year. If you're holding a certain GPA, you're like locked into that option. And then you have to get the MCAT and you have to get the GPA overall. But I know a student in my class when I was there who was like 21, who just went right from his third year of undergrad right into medical school. So I've met those students and it works. There's a lot of those programs that exist.
So yeah, I can just add something to it too, because recently our friend, his son didn't get into medical school, and his father is a anesthesiologist, and he was complaining that 4 years ago he wanted his son to go to the BSMD program. And his son, at the time, he was still exploring his interest. He didn't commit to a medical career. So he said, no, I don't want to do that. And then after 4 years, he has a 4.0 GPA, and he was applying his own college because that's the University of Nevada. And he didn't make to University of Nevada Medical School. So what I'm trying to say is to go to a medical school is very, very competitive. So if you have a chance to do the BSMD, if you can do it, yeah, do it. Usually the schools are not that high ranked, so that's only downside, but it's very competitive as you go to Ivy League, because basically they can almost secure your position if you can get into this program.
Well, thank you, Claire. So if you can I ask one more question, probably a quick
Sure.
one. I heard early on regarding the some classes high schoolers should take for future medical track, physics, biology, and chemistry. So how important it is to take a high level physics class in high school? If you can speak a little more about this. The reason I'm asking is because my kid goes to an IB school, and because you know how it works, you can't choose all the high level science class, right? You basically can do high level of biology, chemistry, math, and physics at the same time. You have to choose 3 out of the 4. So in this scenario, some kids have to give up one of them, maybe physics, maybe biology. So in this situation, do you think that's gonna put the applicant in invariable situation if they have to miss one of the high level science class?
So
I can just say my opinion, no, it wouldn't matter. I think what matters is how well they do in the classes that they're given, and then just try to find an option for them to take more classes if that exists, like through another way, community college or another college prep program. But no, it won't matter. All that matters is they do well academically in the classes that they have available to them.
Thank you, Chris. That's very helpful.
any other questions?
Hi, I have one question. I was wondering, like, are there any volunteers that you need to get into a good college? Because I'm in high school right now and I want to get into a good college, and I was wondering what I should do to get my volunteer hours.
For that, you just want to find something that you can commit to long term, that can be added into your schedule, that you care about, and that you can talk about in your application to college. So that's where it comes down to, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be medically related, but you have to say, like, this is why I did it and this is why I care about it. So if you care about helping people, maybe like helping younger students, maybe you join an organization that helps kids, like an after school program, big sister, big brother program. If you like working with people, you might go to like a food shelter, help stock shelves, or work with homeless people, something along those lines. All that matters is consistency, showing a dedication, and then be able to talk about why and be kind of passionate about it. Be like, I chose this because I liked working with this group of people every day, or every once a week I would go. It became a part of my schedule. I made friends. Everybody knew me. It was a great experience. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear that you can go out and do something, and then you're willing to give time away from your busy schedule. But if you only go one time, that's not enough. You need to have a lot of hours to show that you committed to do maybe 1 or 2 things.
And another question is is there any minimum hours that you need per
For
year?
college, No, I mean, I would shoot for realistically, if you could give like 1 or 2 hours, a month or 3 hours a month, you just do the math and say how many hours that would be. It just has to be a commitment of a length of time where you consistently did something. You can get a letter from somebody that said, hey, you came here, 3 times a month and you gave a few hours and you have that recorded. That just kind of helps. Again, it's just consistency. It's showing a dedication to something. You don't have to do it every day. You don't have to do it every week, but you have to show some kind of consistency that it was a part of what you did during your time in high school.
Okay, thank you. That was really helpful.
Yeah, so for volunteer, there are a lot of organization like you can find from your school, and you can also find it in the local library. You ask, and yeah, like Borough School actually also has a nonprofit arm that we have the high school students teach English class to students underprivileged. And if you are interested, you can also talk to us, and we can record your volunteer hours, because yeah, because we know that it is important to be able to contribute and volunteer in a community.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, thank you, everybody. If you have questions, you can send us an email. And we are also going to send the presentation to you. So yeah, you can let us know, and Chris know if you have more questions. And if not, thank you again, everyone, for coming to our webinar, and good luck in your college planning. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Chris.
No problem. Have a
You're
nice night.
welcome.
Yeah, have a good night. Bye.